the lottery. That's what's going to fix everything, and my life will be perfect, right? But we're manifesting the wrong thing for the right reasons, perhaps, but we're most likely, when we get into manifestation, when we start exploring those things, we don't necessarily do it from a perspective of what's my soul path and what am I here? What's my next purpose? We're like, I want the house, I want the car, I want the job. Like, we're usually manifesting
like a physical. Yes. Welcome to the Angelic Frequency Podcast. We are your hosts, Cristina Aroche
and Luisa Velez, and today we had a fun conversation following up on our episode with Emma. We wanted to talk about manifestation from an angelic perspective and just dive into more of the specifics about working with angels to manifest things in your life. And it was great. Let's dive in.
Yay, we're back for another episode.
Our favorite one-on-one episodes. I'm actually, because we're getting into that nice cadence with new guests and people coming to the podcast, that I'm really looking forward to our one-on-ones.
I know, me too.
It's good.
Yes.
I miss you.
I miss you too. I feel like, it's so fun to do these one-on-ones because of that. Now it's just like feeling the difference too. It's like we go into our personal stories and just
with guests you have to behave.
Yeah, that's right. Like, you gotta ask good questions. Like you
have to be very, very
on it.
So this feels great. But talking about guests and recent guests, we had Emma Munford, and that was such a fun episode talking about manifestation. We hope you listened, but if you haven't, this is a good time to go back and listen to that because this is sort of a follow-up. And we were talking about what should we talk about next, and then we were like, well, this episode's gonna be live after Emma's episode, so how about complementing that with a more focused angelic perspective on manifestation? And so here we are. I have so many questions.
I know, you were like, I have so many questions, and I said to Luisa, I was like, I'll channel the answers because I don't know that I know the answers, but the angels.
Such a privilege to get to have you for an hour just talking about and channeling and asking directly to source all of our questions. So that's going to be fun.
I'm excited. I don't know what you're going to ask me, but
so manifestation, I first came across this from an angelic perspective through your course about sacred geometry. So super interesting topic. I was going through a phase where I was seeing lots of like sacred geometry on my meditations and things like that, and on TV, like dreams, like it was just bombarding me. At one point I was like, should I start learning like language? Like, should I be studying this up? What's going on? What's the message? So you introduced me to your workshop about sacred geometry. Fabulous. And then we stumbled upon, of course, the king of manifestation, Metatron.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to ask you, and I know this is kind of an oldie but a goodie, and this is going back a few years now for you, but for our listeners, can you tell us about how does manifestation work from an angelic perspective, and what is Metatron's role into this whole thing?
I love that. Yeah. So, oh my gosh, where do we even start? Well, first of all, Archangel Metatron, I don't know if you're feeling his presence, but I'm just like, hi. Like, I feel like she's like surrounding us and just like coming in and flowing in. And I feel like, the first place to start with regards to manifestation, it is essentially the co-creation of your experience. It's a co-creation, and that feels like a strong word that he is emphasizing. So like as I'm answering this, it's really him. I'm channeling what he's saying, and he's emphasizing co-creation because he's talking about how it is important to recognize that there's both sides to it. It's not just relying on the divine and the angels and God and the universe and that sort of a thing, but it's also not just all on us, that it's a partnership. It's a co-creative partnership. And so it's important to, first of all, take a step back and see it that way, how there's an aspect, it's almost like the way that I see it is it's sort of like, where am I wanting to go? It's like using the GPS, right, on your phone, like Google Maps or Apple Maps, whatever you use. And I'm inputting the destination. Like I know where I want to go, or I know the direction where I want to go in, but the maps is going to tell me the best way to get there, and the best way to go. And the maps knows that there's construction on this road, or there's traffic over here, so take this route instead, or whatever the case is. And it kind of feels similar like that with regards to manifestation, with regards to creating our path and creating the life that we desire for ourselves, where we are working with the divine and understanding what that vision is for our life. Because I feel like and this is where it's an interesting balance, because I feel like there's a level of connection with, well, what am I desiring in my life? And yet at the same time, there's also leaning into, well, what is the divine's plan for my life? You know what I mean? Because there's that level of like, the divine has a plan for all of us, all of our souls, right? And so I don't necessarily always know what that divine plan is. I might have an idea, like this is what I think I should have, or what I might want from my limited perspective, but then the divine has another perspective. So that's a balance in the co-creation in of itself.
Yes. And that's sort of the vein of my existence lately, because I mean, it's just a vicious cycle almost, where it's like, okay, there's a divine purpose, my soul purpose that I'm here to embody, and where am I going? Like, if it's already laid out, then what's even the point?
Right.
Like, if this is all meant to be a certain way, what am I getting in the way? But also having a passive role into your own fate is like, no, I feel like I should be doing something. I should have a say. And then the free will, and I know it can mess things up, and I can get off track, and I can take, the side road, the secondary road, and get back on the highway. That I can kind of know, but they'll keep us sort of within that path and ultimately sort of to our destination if we want to. So I'm guessing, what is my question other than venting? Just how much, or how do we discern what's life purpose, and how do I stay on track in my manifestation? How do I know, is this even the point? Am I manifesting the right thing for myself? That's, I think, the first question.
Yeah, no, that's such a great question, because I feel like I've struggled with this so many, and I've gone over here and over there and back and forth, and I've experienced it all. I've experienced the part of myself that's like, no, I'm manifesting this thing, and I'm like so in control. I'm like, I'm gonna do it, and like that side of it. I've also experienced the flip side, where it's like, the divine has a plan for me, so I'm just gonna like, blah, like whatever, like let it unfold and da da da, whatever. So I've experienced it all. I felt it all. And I feel like it's somewhere in between, and so going to your question, like, how do we know that we are on the right track, or what are we even manifesting, or how do we even follow that in all of the things? And I feel like at the end of the day, the biggest thing, and this is where Archangel Metatron, what he's bringing forward, is first and foremost, it's the focus on your moment to moment experience and the manifestation of, or in like, instead of using the word manifestation, I'll say the word co-creation, and the co-creation of the experience of love and joy in your day-to-day life. Like, let's just start there at the very basics of how in each moment, like I can wake up each day and choose and decide I'm going to co-create a day that is filled with those moments. It doesn't mean that it's going to be perfect. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to get triggered or whatever, but it means that I am being intentional about choosing my day to unfold in such a way where I'm noticing those moments of joy, connection, love, etc., and allowing my, in choosing that, I am allowing my being, my soul, to be present and to be in its fullest expression in that particular way, right? Like, it's a very we're kind of zooming in and micro, like, okay, in my everyday life, day to day. Then when we zoom out and we think of it from the perspective of purpose, like you were saying, and kind of how do I know that I'm manifesting the path of my soul's plan and the divine's vision for my life and like all of these things, that's where it feels like there's a connection with a couple things. Actually, I was gonna say one thing, but then they're like, oh, this. So one is there's a connection with your soul's potential. Like there's a potential that you have come here to express or that you have come here to experience. So someone who has the potential to be an artist and to bring through beautiful art into the world, or someone who has the potential to be a writer and a speaker, et cetera, like whatever. Those are just very basic examples. We could go infinitely with examples in that sense, but it's a potential to express yourself in a particular way. So there's a potential that exists. And I like to think of it too in the sense of, something like, let's go back to basics too, when it comes to a seed, right? Like within the seed, it has the potential to grow into an oak tree or whatever. I forget what book that's an example from, but it's like the seed. Someone talks about this. I forget who. Maybe it's Marianne Williamson. Maybe it's someone else. Probably many teachers actually talk about this. But but it's like that seed has the potential within it to turn into the oak tree. So it's the same thing how all of us have a seed and we have the potential to be in the fullest expression of our soul, whatever that may be. It's different for each person. However, where co-creation comes in that regard is that we have to choose that for ourselves, meaning that, like, I'm going to use myself as the example. So actually this kind of started for me back in, it started in 2012, but really it was a journey from 2012 to 2000. I mean, it's a continuous journey, but like, let's just say between the period of 2012 to 2016 was a period where I started to recognize within myself that I wanted to do something more with my life than just like pursue my career in the field of science and like work my way up the corporate ladder. So that was when that started happening. And so that's when I started to get a glimpse of the potential. And so as my journey unfolded, as I was beginning to open up spiritually and all these things, I won't go into the details. That's like a whole other story. But like as things started to happen, there was more of this awareness that started to come in of like, oh, like spirituality. Oh, I want to be a spiritual teacher. Oh, all these things. Right. And so as I started to see that for myself, what I had to do in order to manifest where I am today and manifest the life that I'm living today as a spiritual teacher, as a guide, as everything, all the things that I do now, was I had to actually claim that and own that and like choose that. So it's choosing that and stepping into that. And that's where I feel the co-creation and where there's that line where it's kind of like, as you become aware of the different ways in which your soul desires to express itself, or the way in which it wants, your soul is desiring to experience this world, then we have to choose that and we have to own that.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
It does make a lot of sense. And for my context and where I'm at, I hear you 1,000%, of course. But then I want to go a step back because, I mean, there's no unseeing it once you're aware, it comes into your awareness that what the soul purpose is and where you're going, where you're being led. But what if you don't know? Like, then how do you approach it from, like, you have the blindfold, you don't know yet. So then the approach should be, I'm open to whatever's for my highest good and whatever's going to lead me to that purpose, or even the manifestation should, or that's where we start.
Right. Yeah.
Help me see the highest purpose, my highest purpose, and what I'm here to
Yeah.
do ultimately.
Yes.
Then
Yes.
from there, the rest will follow.
Exactly. Because I'm thinking back to my, like, the time in my journey when I was in that same, like, that position of like, well, I don't actually know, like, before I knew the angels, before I knew anything about spirituality and that this was my path. But in that in between where it was like, I know there's more for me. And so for me, it was about focusing on developing my connection to myself and connection to the divine, where I felt like I was co-creating that experience where I was I was co-creating an experience of deepening spiritual connection, deepening spiritual awareness, and only because that's what felt right to me and that's what felt good to me. There was no other reason at that point. Like in that moment on my journey, which I would say probably came through around 2015, 2016, when I really started to dive into spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it wasn't driven by, oh, my purpose is to be a channel and a spiritual teacher and like do all these things. It wasn't driven by that. It was just driven by the fact that this feels really good. And I really love this deepening of my connection and in my awareness and how, reading these books and my perception is opening up and wow, like how I get to live my life. So it was really focused on just simply the co-creation of that connection. And then in terms of like, if I think about trying to put myself back in my shoes back then, and I feel like it was a vision of I'm stepping into a bigger life for me, even if I don't know what it looks like, but I'm claiming that. I know that I'm here to do something more than this corporate job that I'm in. I don't know what it is exactly, but I'm owning the fact that there's more for me, more to my life. And it was like really claiming that for myself versus it being like, am I meant to do that? Am I meant to be something more? Like, I'm not sure. And kind of like one foot in, one foot out. It was like, there's something more for me. I know that for sure. And I'm doing it. And God, angels, universe. I don't know if I was saying that exactly at the time, but like whoever I was praying to, like, I think I was just saying universe at the time. Yeah. And it was just like, how would you have me show up today? And how can I be an expression of love today? And how can I bring my light today? And what am I meant to do? And I think at that time, A Course in Miracles was one of the guiding texts that I was following, but it was really just that, like a question of how would you have me be today? Like, how can I be my truest self, my light, my service today? And that was it.
Okay. Follow happy. That's a compass. Follow your happiness, follow what's, bringing you that joy in life, and that ultimately or eventually will lead you to bigger answers about what's the path and what's unfolding.
Yes. And I think that's the trickiest part, because we always want answers. I mean, we always want more clarity and we always want more certainty. And that's the in between where it's like, we're being guided to lean into that despite not having the full clarity picture and certainty. You know what I mean?
Totally. And that's where we're all at. Like like when it comes to manifestation, we think we're manifesting the right thing. So this thing, especially because from our human perspective, we're always like, the lottery, that's what's gonna be everything, and my life will be perfect, right? But we're manifesting the wrong thing for the right reasons, perhaps, but we're most likely, when we get into manifestation, when we start exploring those things, we don't necessarily do it from a perspective of what's my soul path and what am I here? What's my next purpose? We're like, I want the house, I want the car, I want the job. Like, we're usually manifesting
like a physical,
whatever. Yeah, exactly. So we're doing it from our human and satisfy human needs and material needs. We're not doing it like, put me on the path, help me fulfill my soul's purpose. That's not usually, we get there and then we understand that that's going to lead, that we work our way backwards from that to the material things. But it really starts the other way around.
Yes, exactly.
And so not falling into that trap of trying to manifest the car, the house, the things. It's just, how do I...
Right.
It's almost as if the prayer or the thing to manifest is, what's for my highest good, put me on my soul path to, fulfill my fullest potential and just do whatever I'm here to do.
Yeah.
And then everything else will sort of fall into place. So hard.
It's so hard.
Not at all.
No. It's one of the hardest. I mean, I feel like that's one of the hardest parts of the journey is navigating that. And and how do you navigate creating the life for yourself that you desire, knowing that you're a human, of course you're going to want material things because you're living in this world, so it's kind of like, you know what I mean? And but then at the same time, at the same time, it's like, okay, but there's a bigger purpose, but also I am worthy of abundance, and like that is an ultimate expression of my soul as well. And it's like, how do I navigate all that? Yeah, it's
The
like,
cycle. And then it's like, how do I tell my human that, yeah, the financial thing's going to be sorted, that the house is going to go, like, it's so hard from our human
yeah,
perspective to understand that maybe that house was not the right thing for us, and that
yeah.
it all happens for a reason. But yeah, it's not easy to navigate for sure. So going back to the angelic connection and Metatron and how it works with us, giving him the mic back. How do we work with him? And why is, okay, two questions. How do we work with him to get there, and what's the right question to be asking of him, or what's his role? Because I see him almost as the puppeteer. And he's
Mhm.
just, doing, helping us do the things that we need to do. So how do we work with him? And why sacred geometry? And why is that important for manifestation?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love that. Well, let's talk about sacred geometry real quick, which in basic terms, sacred geometry is really a way in which we're able to connect with different frequencies. So when it comes to sacred geometry, it's and a common one is the Merkaba, for example, or the flower of life is another one. So any geometrical shape that is within in a certain pattern or whatever way, and you can Google this and like visually see what we're talking about, but they all hold frequencies. It's like there's like a frequency of energy connected with each one. And so when we're working with sacred geometry, it can support us with amplifying that energy and then amplifying our intentions and what we're desiring and our own frequency that we're building with the support of sacred geometry. It's like a tool to help amplify all the things. So when we're working with sacred geometry, specifically in the realms of manifestation, it can help amplify what we are intentionalizing in that way. I think sometimes we think, oh, I'm going to amplify it and it's going to happen faster, and like,
Right.
oh, let's put this force behind it. And that's not what I mean when I say amplify. When I say amplify, I'm simply talking about the frequency that we're in and what we are experiencing and how frequently we are holding that specific energy. So if you think about how when we're talking about manifestation this way, it's your bringing your frequency, your energy into alignment with a specific outcome, with a specific desire, with a
Mhm.
specific expression, right? And so when it comes to the role of sacred geometry, we can use it to help support our energy to amplify, but also to, and this is where Archangel Metatron comes in as well, is to clear out whatever dense energies or whatever other frequencies that are not supportive of the frequency that we are wanting to hold and that we are wanting to experience. So, for example, if let's say, talking about like, I'll just again use myself as the example because it's the easiest stories to share. I've lived through it. And so if I think about my journey back when I was wanting to start, when it came to the time where I was like, okay, I'm wanting to step into more of like the spiritual role and the spiritual journey and things like that. And like in the way of like being a teacher and a guide and all those things, there was a part of me that was, just so afraid, like, of how am I going to be seen and what are people going to think and am I going to disappoint other people and like all of that. And so when I started to want to show up in that way, it's like that balance of energy where I'm working on my frequency as someone who's showing up in the identity of spiritual teacher and someone who's showing up in the identity of I'm an angel channel and this is what I do and this is who I am, and working with Archangel Metatron is a way to help remove and clear out the denser frequencies that might weigh me down that say, oh, I'm not good enough, or who am I to be doing this? Or like, you're going to disappoint other people or whatever, like all those things that add up and that build up that are held within our energy. So Archangel Metatron helps to clear those things out so that all that's left is the pure energy of your true self, that true frequency that you are growing into, that you are amplifying, that you are embodying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, does that make sense?
It does, and it's helpful to see it as yeah, clearing, and then all that's left is
Yeah.
it's what's the fundamental there. And what happens then if your stubborn human is manifesting the wrong thing? Like
Mm.
what is he doing then? Because like, no, you don't need that car. You're gonna, I don't know, get a horrible accident and you're gonna crash. Don't manifest that. Like
Right.
what happens then?
Right. Yeah, that's such a great question. I think for one, this is very dependent on each person's journey, where they're at, and like all the things. But I do feel like if there's something that's not meant for you, you're actually not really going to even manifest it.
No matter what.
Yeah, it won't even happen. I feel to some level.
Lesson.
Again, yeah, exactly. Because depends on each person's journey. Some people might manifest the thing that they've been trying really hard to manifest, even if it's not super aligned with them. But then it's either like something would happen that it would fall away, whether it's because they just the frequency doesn't match, so it falls away, it moves away, or if it's because they learn the experience, learn the lesson, whatever it is. So again, depending on each person's journey, but in general, I would say that what's not meant for you won't come into fruition.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not meant for you.
It won't just, yeah. Okay. We're not that powerful. You can't just manifest random things. Interesting.
Right. Like, okay, new car tomorrow, or like, I don't know, whatever. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And so, okay, back to the geometry of it all. I'm really curious. It just because I've been actually doing your guided meditation for a few days, and so I'm curious in terms of process and just breaking it down into what I can remember from that journey. So we usually create a sacred grid with Archangel Metatron. What does that grid represent, and what is it doing? And what's that energy that we're calling forth, or what's happening there?
Right. So with the grid, it starts with you connecting with it's almost like a template, I'll call it, where you're connecting with the energy of this next level frequency that you're wanting to step into. So I'm thinking of, and here's what I mean when I say frequency. It's kind of think of it as each next level, like the next thing that you're wanting to step into, or whatever path you're wanting to follow, think of it as that's a frequency. There's a frequency that's associated with it. So anytime that you are focusing on that co-creation and on that manifestation, there's a new level of energy that you're learning how to hold or like stretch yourself into, basically. And so with the sacred geometrical grid that you're creating around you, it's almost like a placeholder, so to speak. I like to think of it that way, or as a way to help you connect with that frequency, or with that template, so to speak,
Okay.
And so when we're connecting with that grid, it's a way for us to like almost immediately like tap into, oh, okay, let me amplify my energy to connect with that specific frequency, to connect with that version of myself that is already in that frequency. So it's almost like, think of it as like a memory or energetic imprint that exists as the sacred geometrical grid that you can connect with, and that you can then tap into to support you with when you're like tuning into them, when you're manifesting, when you're in that specific like meditative process, so to speak.
Okay. I think I get it, but yes, it's just, and for everyone, because this is not something that necessarily everyone is familiar with, but sacred geometry is just fascinating in how complex it can get. So learning how to You don't necessarily have to, know all about it to kind of use it to amplify your meditations, but it's useful to have a high level understanding of what it is that's happening.
Yeah, it's like I like to think of it as like a tool. So in like any tool, it's like if you resonate with that tool, then you can use that tool to support you. But if you don't resonate with the tool, then it's like there's other tools that are available that can still equally support you. And then also when it comes to sacred geometry, I remember when I was releasing that workshop that you're referring to, which was back in 2019. So it's like an old school workshop. And I remember some of the comments that I was getting at first, people were like, but I'm not good at math. Like, can I do this course or like whatever? And I was like, don't worry, because I literally, I mean, I'll admit I was kind of a math geek in
Okay.
school, but I mean, I have a background in science, so you're kind of,
Yeah.
but to me, it's like, it has nothing to do with math. Like, you do not need to
Exactly.
do anything with math. However, I've seen people, and it was so funny when I first moved to San Diego in 2018, I was trying to like find meetup groups, like meet people, and I was like, I'll find spiritual groups and blah blah blah. And there was this workshop, it was a meetup thing that had something to do with sacred geometry, and I don't remember exactly what the details were, but I remember I went to it, and like they were talking about sacred geometry in such a like different, like completely different way, very much more mathematical, very much more like formulas and all this, and I was like, what are you talking about? Like, this is, I don't even know what's going on. Like, you have me lost. So anyways, all that to say, it's sacred geometry is something that anyone and everyone can apply to them for themselves in their life. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be, it can be very simple, a simple way to just simply connect with this frequency of energy and knowing that it can support you when it comes to your journey and how you're co-creating your life, because at the end of the day it's all energy. So it's like, what energy are we tapping into to support us?
Yeah, totally get it. And talking about tools, and what's just coming to mind right now, it's the connection between just to get to our highest purpose and just connecting what we're actually should be manifesting and what's our path in this life. Of course, Metatron plays such a big role into that, but going back to the energy of the Akashic records as another avenue to connect with, and ultimately Metatron is also up there doing his thing. But that as another means, as another tool to have that understanding of what you're here for and what you're doing and connecting to that energy.
Exactly. Yes. That's such a beautiful tool. Yeah. And that's great that you brought that up, because and that's the beauty of it. You get to use these different tools in all these different ways to then like support your co-creation.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's a whole nice package. So, well, a tool. It's more of a place than a tool, but or an energy. I don't know. Yeah, it's something else that you can access, another energy you can access to, of course, will see the path that will unfold and help you get in the right track, on the right track. Okay, get it. So we've been talking about Metatron a lot, but what are other angels associated with manifestation? Is this something that guardian angels can help with as well, or other archangels, or how have you experienced that?
That's a great question. And definitely Archangel Gabriel.
Mm.
So one of the angels that is coming through, I felt him like when Archangel Metatron was coming through, I kind of like felt him in the background too, but Archangel Gabriel, he was like, hi, I'm back here too. I feel like Archangel Gabriel comes through very strong, but his perspective, and it's interesting well, I feel like each angel is going to come forward, because I feel like they're like lining up. They're like, yeah, and me, but each one has a different perspective when it comes to how they support us. And so with Archangel Gabriel, it's more so a connection to your true self and helping you to connect to your soul's energy, so that it's not something where you're manifesting from like ego, right? And this ego driven, like, I'm going to manifest because somewhere subconsciously then I'll feel worthy or good enough when I attain the house or the this or the that or the status or whatever, right? So Archangel Gabriel helps to really bring you back into your truth and helping you to align with your soul and with that potential energy that actually exists. The other one who's coming forward is Archangel Raphael. He was like the next one in line, like me, like talk about me. And he came through. He's coming through in support really of your heart chakra, and like that conversation that I was saying earlier, or that when I was talking about the aspect of claiming that for ourselves and claiming what we desire. And he's coming in with the energy of helping us to feel worthy and helping us to feel like, there's nothing for us to prove. It's about us really owning the power that is there, and owning all of the desires and the things that make us who we are. So that's where he comes in with that energy. Archangel Ariel is another one who comes in when it comes to manifestation. Yeah. Have you worked with her?
No. Tell us more about her.
Okay.
I think a lot of people are super familiar with her necessarily.
Yeah. So she comes in, she helps to really bring things into a more grounded space, meaning that like when you're working with Archangel Ariel, she's helping you to stay grounded and rooted within your present moment, so that when you're like, when you're moving with making decisions or taking action or whatever, you're doing it from a grounded state and connected. So it's basically like connecting with that vision, with that desire, with that frequency and that energy, but then embodying it and really bringing it down into a more like embodied state. So for another example, working with Archangel Ariel is if let's say I'm manifesting being a speaker, right? Like wink, wink, like I'm not manifesting that. Yeah, no, totally not. But yes, that is exactly what I am co-creating, is this next level energy and frequency around being a speaker and speaking on stages and et cetera, all those things. So with Archangel Ariel, she can help me to feel more grounded and embodied in that truth, meaning that when I'm just like going out for a walk or doing something simple, I'm in the energy of this is who I am, and I'm seeing myself already embodied in that. So I'm feeling into the energy of, if I was already a well-known speaker and I was traveling to different parts of the world and speaking on stages, how would I feel? What would I be thinking? How would I experience that energy in this moment right now? Even if I'm just somewhere simple, like my kitchen making dinner, but like, who am I in that moment? So it's like more of an embodied state, and she helps with that aspect of manifestation.
I love that so much. And I think whenever in life I've manifested, especially talking about like bigger things and life changes, I feel like that embodiment is so important, because we tend to get a little anxious and nervous. Just fear sets in. Change, good or bad, is scary for us. So that's a very human reaction. And so focusing on, what does that feel? What if it all goes well? What if it goes like beyond my wildest dream? Like, let's dream. What's the positive outcome? Because we tend to spiral, with the worst possible outcome in any situation, but then because we're scared, but then it's like, what if I move to Canada? What does that look like? What's the best possible scenario? How am I living? What am I doing? How does that feel? And so that helps so much in, just being more grounded in yourself and the present moment, and nothing negative's happening yet.
Yeah.
And let's dream up of all the positive things that could happen. I think that's a very amazing, useful perspective when you're going through big life changes.
Yeah, totally. It totally is. And yeah, I love that you brought that in, of like imagining what is the best case scenario, instead of the worst case scenario.
Goodness, I did that so much. And going back to like, that's a great example for me in my life. That was one of the biggest changes and transitions back in 2018 when I was moving to Canada. I started having the worst like panic attacks in the middle of the night. I would wake up feeling pressure in my chest and the whole thing. I was like, okay, this is what you don't want. I kept like having like worst case scenario moments. And then I was like, okay, that's the worst thing that can happen. Now, what's the best possible outcome? And what is the dream? What are you doing? Let's see it. Let's do it. And it would play like a movie. And I was like, what if we're living here? We're doing that. We're doing this. And that's how it would help bring myself out of those things. But then come to think of it, a lot of those things did come to fruition. So funny enough, I don't think I even realized I was doing that at the time, but perhaps just consistently visualizing what I did wanted,
Yeah.
helped me get there, moving through the fear and anxiety of a big life change and a big transition, but also helping me actually direct energy towards those outcomes.
Yeah, exactly. And in that, what you were also doing is you were aligning your frequency and your energy to that outcome, the version of you who was already living in Canada and who created all of that. So it's like you were tapping into that frequency, into the energy by doing that process.
I love that so much. So then that would be something that Archangel Ariel would help
Yeah.
with too.
Yes. Yes. And then the other last angel that I'll just mention, because I keep seeing him coming forward, he's like, don't forget about me, like tapping me.
Yeah.
Is Archangel Chamuel. And so he comes through as the one who's really supporting us with taking action and making decisions and kind of helping us to be that like active role on our journey. So when it's time to move, we'll say, like make a move and time to decide on this thing, it's like he comes in to help us direct our energy into the actual action that's required from on our end to be able to step into what we're wanting, you
Right.
know?
Yeah. You have to walk so the path appears.
Exactly.
Okay. That's
Yes. Yes. You say that all the time and it's
I
like
say it
such a
all the time, but
great.
it's true. Yeah.
Yes. I've even referenced you. I forget where on what things. I was like, Luisa says this all the time on the podcast. Like, we gotta walk.
I love it. I love your conversation. But yeah, honestly, if we don't, we have to meet them halfway, and they can only do so much. If we just don't want to move, then they just can't do anything about it either.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the biggest thing too that I just want to bring up when it comes to manifestation is it's less thinking about like and I've experienced this before where people ask these kinds of questions when I'm like channeling the angels or whatever, but it'll be like how do I like thinking of it as how like can the angels bring me this thing or can I manifest this thing and like bring into my life instead of it being this energy of how can I uh, you know have them bring this thing or attract this thing. Instead, it's an energy of who am I meant to become? It's like a becoming. Thinking of it as who are you becoming in the process? Who do you need to become in order to be living the life that you are desiring? So who are you meant to become in you can even tie this back to what we were talking about with regards to the more like material things manifestations, where like let's say for example you're wanting to manifest a new house or you're wanting to buy a house and it's kind of like how do I bring that into my life? Like I'm really wanting to expand in where I'm living. Well, who do you need to become? Who is the version of you who has bought the house or living in that specific house or whatever? Who are they in the world? Who are they showing up as? What are they creating? What are they bringing forward? And what do you need to do? What are the steps you need to take to become that version of yourself? You know what I mean? So and then again, it removes the materialistic side of like, I just want the house. And it's more so who am I becoming and who am I being developed into in to be that version of myself who is living in that house, for example.
Yes, that's a great point. And I'm trying to think where I read this or saw this or it's the inner wisdom. I don't know. It's probably not. But somewhere that we should be manifesting feelings, emotions, not things.
Yeah.
So that house, what is that house? So we're not attached to the outcome. So if it's not the house, what am I after? Safety, maybe. Security, or this or that. What is that house to me? What does that feel like? So okay, not necessarily house, but it's just a safe place. So it's safety what
Yeah.
I'm after. And then work on the emotion behind your manifestation that's going to bring through the best possible outcome. That's not necessarily the house. So if you focus on the emotion and the feeling you're after, safety, love, instead of this person that has to look a certain way, or this house that I want, or this much money. But if it's the feeling or chasing the emotion, we'll get the best possible outcome no matter what.
Yes. And the thing that comes up as you say that is that it's also then shows us how we are able to create that experience for ourselves right now, that we're not waiting for the thing to then be able to feel a certain way. It's, I'm going to create the feeling right now. You know what I mean? Like,
I love it. Yeah.
and then I can experience that in this moment. It's coming from within me, and then the outer environment is reflecting that.
Right. So that makes so much sense. And then if you are manifesting and you're seeing yourself in X amount of time, and if it's health and you're eating healthy and you're working out and you want to look a certain way, so it's super helpful when you think about it like that, because then you can embody that today. What is that healthy person in the future do? How does she act? How does she wake up? How does she eat? Is she drinking water? Is she working out? And then embodying that person here now today, and then eventually will bring you the outcome in the future. But it's an easier thing to do and bring to the present in a more tangible way, and it's doable. And like, yeah, healthier Luisa would probably have water, not just and yeah, and do that. You can have a glass of water. And so yeah, it's a simple way to bring it to rather than embodying that on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's, I feel like that's the key. It's the moment to moment thing. And then it also transforms our perspective out of once I reach a certain goal, or like that goal oriented thing. Instead, it's the journey. Like, how are you moment to moment through the journey? How are you enjoying the journey? Even though I know the journey isn't always enjoyable, but like for the most part, like, how are you viewing the journey, that it's the journey? And, you know, whatever that saying is, that it is about the journey, not the destination, you know?
Yeah, I love that so much. And then calling on the angels, meditating with them, and having them help bring through the right conditions, the right emotions, helping us discern what it is that we need in our life, what's going to lead to the highest good, and what is the emotion that we're after, and what's the alignment there. I guess they'll figure out the details.
Yeah.
Case the whatever it is that we're feeling that we need.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And the last thing that I'll share before we wrap up too is just how in the moment, like the other way that we can work with them is at like telling them and saying, hey, help me to, you know, see how to be more surrendered, or help me to lean into more trust, you know. Or even just recently, I was like, I feel like I'm gripping and I'm like trying to like really control a certain situation. So I was just like, Archangel Gabriel, I don't know why I called on him specifically, but I was like, Archangel Gabriel, help me to release my need to control. Help me to be less grippy. Like, I'm noticing this about myself and I don't know how to surrender right now in this moment. So just help me. And then the next day I actually was like, just felt so surrendered to the outcome. And I was like, I don't know how I'm doing this, but I actually don't feel like I care so much about the outcome anymore. And I felt so much more surrendered to it. And the mom was like, "Oh, cool. This is really cool to experience. This works, you know." And I've experienced it so many times. Every time, every time it happens, I'm like, "Oh yeah, this works. Oh, cool.
Yeah,
this is awesome."
yeah, no, that's such a great point. Yes, I totally hear it. And one last thing that came to mind while you were saying that, which is, ultimately the same thing, but asking the angels to help take that, going back to the fear, anxiety, and whatever it is that it's in your head. Usually when you're manifesting something, you're looking for a change, you're looking for something different, but you're coming at it from a place of lack or control or something like that. So asking the angels to take it away and transmute that for you. So you've said this to me many times, and that try to put that into practice as much as I can. But yeah, Michael, take this away, transmute it. Or Raphael, take this thing, help me heal this thing that's causing fear or anxiety or anger or whatever that looks like. And just handing that over. That's not your load to carry and just handing that over to the angels. And that's something else that they're really good at helping with.
Yeah. 1,000%.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. I feel like this conversation just flew by. Like, I'm like, we've only been talking for 10 minutes, right?
Wow.
Like, what? Okay. I want to hear from our listeners. Let us know in the comments if you're watching on YouTube, what has been your process of manifestation? Which angels do you like working with? And any other questions that you might have around this process. And we can definitely dive into more on a future episode. I feel like this is a beautiful, amazing, ongoing conversation that we can have. But yeah, I want to hear more about people's perspectives or even maybe struggles too when it comes to manifestation. Where do you feel like you get really hung up or like a sticky moment with it? And, we can talk more about that.
Yeah, we absolutely can. Yeah, I can't wait to hear more about all the things, your experiences with sacred geometry. Is anyone else haunted by numbers like me out there? Let me know.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
definitely.
Good. Well, love it. Looking forward to the next one. I love our one-on-one conversation.
Oh, me too. So good. So amazing. Thank you again, everyone, for listening in. If you enjoy this episode, then make sure to give it a thumbs up on YouTube, or if you're listening on any of the podcast apps, then make sure that you're subscribed, that you're following. Share this episode with the people in your life if you know anyone who needs to hear this today. And as always, we're sending you so much love and so many angel blessings.
Angel blessings. Goodbye.
Bye.